The fact that US President Joe Biden is heading overseas again this week, first to Israel, then to Saudi Arabia, ahead of what is already shaping up to be a controversial expedition. The president wrote an opinion piece about his trip for the Washington Post. Biden insisted human rights will be a part of the discussions taking place. He's already under enormous pressure over his decision to travel to Saudi Arabia and meet with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, among others. He, of course, is the Saudi royal that US intelligence says orchestrated the murder and dismemberment of Jamal Khashoggi, a Saudi-American journalist killed in the kingdom's consulate in Istanbul. That allegation is rejected entirely by Saudi officials. The president claimed his administration has reversed a Trump-era blank check policy, highlighting bans and sanctions that he's placed against top Saudi officials since he took office. And the president said his visit to Saudi Arabia is necessary in positioning the US to counter Russian aggression in Ukraine and to outcompete China, all to achieve a greater degree of stability among the world's most volatile regions, West Asia. The US president added that his aim was to reorient, not rupture, ties with an 8-decade-old ally, but going to Saudi Arabia is still hugely controversial for him here. Meanwhile, in Israel, it's reported Biden may announce $100 million in fresh aid to Palestinian hospitals operating in East Jerusalem. Again, much controversy swirls here already about his decision to travel to Israel for meetings with caretaker Prime Minister Yair Lapid. So, back to Susan Tehrani, still with us live from New York City. Susan, it's going to be pretty hard for Joe Biden to map out a foreign policy win from visits to Israel and Saudi Arabia that are already resulting in an enormous amount of criticism being directed at him, and much of it coming from fellow Democrats.
Absolutely. One of the main pillars of a successful foreign policy agenda for any president is to be able to sell that successfully here at home. And if we take note of that Washington Post article that you just mentioned, penned by the president, he doesn't mention oil, which is one of the central parts and the reasons of why he's traveling to Saudi Arabia, and the White House just seems to not want to talk about that. He's going to be asking the Saudis to produce more oil in order to bring down oil prices. Here he makes no mention of that. That's one aspect of it. Another aspect of it is it's really hard to imagine whether or not there's going to be some kind of breakthrough during this trip. One, because this administration is engaged in talks with Iran for a possible Iran nuclear deal. Israel and Saudi Arabia really don't want this deal to go through. And on the other hand, it's the issue of Russia. The Biden administration wants to create a global coalition against Russia, but a lot of Middle Eastern countries rely on Russia for wheat. Even Israel relies on Russia in Syria against Iran once again. And then, you have that rhetoric that it really has to tone down when dealing with Saudi Arabia. And although, the Biden administration talks about this defense pact in the Middle East, it's really piggybacking on the historic Abraham Accords that was signed by the previous administration.
Susan Tehrani, live for us in New York City, WION's US correspondent. Doubtless we will see Susan again later this week.